everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Depends on what part of the day you're looking at this. My name is Ms. V, and I am a hairstylist, trichologist, and the proud producer of a product called Elite Stimmy Growth Hair Oil. It's a scalp transformation oil, so guys, check it out. Do me a favor before you go any further. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And yes, do me that favor and do that for me, please. So today we are going to be talking some trichology talk. Yes, guys. Yes, we're going to be talking about trichology today. I didn't mean to do that. That's what I meant to say. Okay. So yes, today will be based about trichology. And I want to start this off. We not going too far. And if you see me looking down, sidebar really, but not really. But if you see me, my eyes shift, I did jot down some notes all to keep me on track, because for me, I'll get started on one thing and I know I have 10 things to tell y'all or say, and I'll get stuck on that one thing. So if you see me looking down, don't mind me. Again, I just jotted down some notes, some things that I really wanted to be included in this episode, some great information to give you to think about, give you some things to research, and just to give you some food for thought in reference to my topic. So my topic today will be about hair loss and the major contributors to hair loss. So when you think about hair loss, you think that, you think that somebody did something, or something is not right, or something wasn't done properly on your head, on your hair. And those are all valid. But hair loss, right? Hair loss is more than just improper hairstyling. Even though that is one of them, hair loss is so much more than improper hairstyling. And today, on today's episode, I really want to go over some of the major contributions to hair loss, right? While we're going through it, while we're going through some things and we don't understand what we're going through and why we're going through, so I definitely want to tap into that today. And again, I just want to give you guys some food for thought, some things to research, and just more information. So basically, there are many factors to hair loss, right? One of the factors to hair loss could be stress. The other factor to hair loss could be hormonal. Other factors of hair loss can be disorders, can be environmental, can be medication. It can be your health, right? The direction that your health may take. Even if your diet can be a reason for hair loss, if you lose a significant amount of weight, especially in a short period of time, that can also be a contribution to hair loss. Hormonal can be anything between pregnancy and menopause. So the first one I really want to go into is stress, right? Because in this crazy, crazy world that we are living in, stress is a big contribution to a lot of different things. One of them being our health. So I always say, have you ever noticed anyone that stressed themselves out so bad that they lost weight, their hair started falling out, they just became sick out of nowhere? It's like, you were just healthy last week. What happened? And they go to the doctor, and it's nothing that the doctor can pinpoint. There's no disease. There's no illness. However, stress is a major cause of hair, is one of the major causes of hair loss. Excuse me. So I wrote this down. So forgive me for looking down. So when stress will cause the hair loss by activating the body's fight or flight response, right? And when the body activates this flight or fight response, what it does, it releases one adrenaline, and I don't need to explain that, right? We all know what adrenaline is, right? When you're getting, when you get into an accident, God forbid, if you're in a fight, if something happens and it causes that excitement and the heart palpitations, that is what we call adrenaline, right? And then the other one is called cortisol. Now, for ladies, us ladies, we are all familiar with cortisol. You just don't know. If you've never heard of it, you just don't know that you are familiar with it. So, cortisol is actually another hormone, right? And for us ladies, when cortisol is released, we see it right here in our midsection. Have you ever been slim and trim one day and then you have a stressful week at home with the kids, with the family? You have a stressful week at work, and then all of a sudden you notice you got pimples on your face. You notice that your stomach, that your midsection it's way bigger and more protruded than it was in weeks prior. So that is one of the hormones, and that is a stress hormone called cortisol, right? And with these hormones do is it causes the hair to go straight into the telogen phase. So the hair goes through 5 phases, right? One of those phases is the telogen phase, which I will get into in another video. But the telogen phase is what we call our shedding phase, right? So we have our growing stage, we have our resting stage, and then we have our shedding stage, right? And in our shedding stage, we have there are time frames for us to develop, for us to experience, experience every one of those phases. So when we come to the telogen phase, if we are in our anagen phase, which is our growing stage, right? If we're in that stage or phase, whichever one you prefer, and we are going through a stressful moment in our life, a overly stressful moment in our life, where adrenaline and cortisol is released, our hormones are released within us, we can skip our catagen phase and go straight into our telogen phase. Our telogen phase, again, is our shedding phase, which is, sidebar really but not really, but which is called telogen effluvium, right? Telogen effluvium is another form of alopecia. So stress can actually push us into telogen effluvium, which is another form of alopecia, which is forcing us into our telogen phase, which is our shedding phase, which is coming prematurely than when it's supposed to come, if that makes sense to you. Now, when we're dealing with our hair falling out and our hair shedding, you could have been stressed for 2 weeks this in the month of February, but then you'll notice in April and May, you'll notice that your hair will start coming out. You'll start noticing some thinning. You'll start noticing that you might be light in a particular area of your head, right? And nothing happens overnight within the body. It had to be brewing in order for it to happen. So what's happening is it's the inside now has to catch up with the outside. The inside has to catch up with the outside. So what's happening here is when you're dealing months and months later with hair loss, what's happening here is it's just catching up to what was going on back then, if that makes sense, right? So your hair is going through a phase. It's going through a phase, and it has to catch up. So what's going on in your hair, sidebar really but not really, have you ever used a product and a couple of months or a few weeks after using a product, you notice the results from the product? You never notice it overnight because the body needs to identify what's going on. The body then has to adapt to what's going on, and then it will produce a result. So that's what happens with the intelligent phase, intelligent effluvium. Okay, something is telling me low battery. I don't know what it is, but we're going to wait and see if it goes off. So that's what happens in intelligent effluvium. Okay, and you'll notice you're going to lose a significant amount of hair. Again, I said, you're going to see thinning in certain spots. It's not going to look full and healthy as it did previously to when you were having the stressful issue. But understand, again, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen just like that. The body, what's going on in the inside, catches up for what happened a few months ago. So a few months ago, if you had a traumatic experience going on, it's going to catch up in a few months within the body, right? And sidebar, and now I'm going to say this and then I'm going to go on. When I had COVID before COVID had a name. I had COVID before the world was shut down. And I didn't begin to lose my hair until I had COVID in January of 2020. I didn't begin to lose my hair until about March or April of 2020. So what happens here is, again, illness, because I'm going to go into that. High fever can actually cause hair loss as well. I was sick for about a good 3 weeks. So all of that trauma that I experienced within actually caught up with me a few months later, and I suffered hair loss from it. So we'll go into that either later on in this particular episode, or maybe in another episode, because that's a whole episode within itself. Okay, so the next reason for hair loss is environmental stress. I wrote down as pollution or exposure to certain chemicals that can damage the hair shaft, making it more prone to breakage and falling out. UV radiation can cause hair to thin and become weak and fall out. So we have, and I explain to people a lot of days that we have to, it's a holistic thing, guys. We have to make sure that we're doing our part, because our foods, our water, our air, if we relied on all of those things just solely, right, to contribute to our health, we would be in a really bad position. For anyone that is using any kind of UV radiation, just know that please protect your hair. Protect your hair, because those things, that particularly that right there, will actually cause you to experience hair loss. So just be careful when it comes down to the UV radiation. However, make sure that you're keeping up with your vitamins, which we will go into a little bit later. Your nutrition, period. Keep up with your nutrition, because again, if we rely on the foods that we're being fed, some of the water that we drink, and the air that we actually go outside and breathe every day, if we relied on just those things, we would be pretty much in bad shape. The next one would be physical stress, right? Physical stress meaning surgery, meaning severe illness, significant weight loss, and high fever. As I stated, when I was going through COVID and I had a fever